Hi, my name is Gary from MaxiScale, and today I want to talk to you about our Flex software platform for cloud-scale file serving and storage. We live in the era of billions. These kind of examples are now prevalent, but basically what's happened is that we've gone from an era of much smaller applications with a smaller amount of data, smaller amount of objects, smaller amount of users, to these new class of web and cloud applications which are delivering billions of objects to hundreds of millions of users and totally changing the requirements for the underlying infrastructure. What's really happening down below the surface is that not only are we increasing the capacity, but we're also increasing, again, the number of objects and the number of users. Today, everybody is both a content consumer and a creator, and this proliferation of file objects and users, both creating and consuming, is driving an incredible change in the underlying needs for the infrastructure to support these kind of applications. Who needs help? Well, web companies do. Good examples there are social and ad networks, as well as e-commerce and media. Service providers, those folks who are building applications, building the underlying infrastructure, but then providing those applications as a service. And enterprises, particularly with their internet-facing applications and scale-out applications, are looking to ways that they can solve these kinds of problems. When we look at cloud scale workloads, we go from a period of initial activity around files where the focus is on peak performance, continuous availability, but more specifically, how to be really cost efficient on dollars per read. But what happens is at a certain point in time, those files go from being an asset and a revenue generator to being a liability, where the implied agreement is that they're going to stick around forever and customers will always have access even if they're not really making use of those files. So now, instead of peak performance, I just need consistent performance. Instead of continuous availability, I just need resiliency. But most importantly, I need to find the lowest cost per terabyte in order to maintain this tremendous amount of capacity over time. MaxiScale solves this entire spectrum of activity across the entire timeline. Today, people are spending too much money trying to repurpose enterprise solutions to get them to fit web scale and cloud scale workloads, or they're spending way too much time and trouble with a do-it-yourself solution for underlying infrastructure that ultimately becomes more trouble than it's worth. At MaxiScale, we deliver the Flex software platform to help solve the requirements for web and cloud scale applications. And we do this by delivering software that customers put on commodity hardware in order to meet their cloud scale file serving requirements. You can think of this solution as an on-premise solution, much in the same spirit as something like the Google File System or Dynamo from Amazon. And you can see in this configuration that MaxiScale uses a combination of principal nodes and high density nodes to meet both of the peaks I showed on the prior chart of very active data and then data that just stays around forever that has to be kept because of implied service agreements. The platform benefits are that it's cloud scale, start with as few as 4, scale to as many as 50,000 nodes with linear performance, and that there's fully distributed metadata and data in order to avoid the critical metadata bottlenecks with these in dealing with these kind of workloads. It's simple and always online with a single namespace and the ability to add and replace nodes and drives on the fly, and a real focus on game-changing economics to meet the lowest cost commodity hardware pricing and also to help reduce the spindle count for small files. So I want to walk you through a demo where we're going to load the software, set up the IP address, launch the browser, and create a mount point. The specific infrastructure behind the demo is a laptop, software on a USB key, the MaxiScale cluster of 4 nodes, and a couple of web and application servers so that we can actually mount the cluster. I asked Jeff Blomberg, who's our Director of Technical Services and Support, to walk us through the demo. You'll see the clock in the top right is actually matched 1 second equals 1 minute. And first he's loaded the software. Now he's going to set up the IP address for the seed node in the cluster. Once that's configured, he'll be able to log into that IP address and launch the browser and the graphical user interface, walk through a series of simple questions to get the default configuration up and running, and then once that's done, he's going to be able to create a mount point, and he now has a scale-out file system for his use to support his application. As you'll see from the clock, about 37 minutes in total, summarized for you here in 37 seconds. I thought it'd be interesting also to get a look at the user interface itself. So now logging in, we're going to see the main dashboard, which shows us the general statistics of overall system health, how much capacity. Notice that we're splitting again between principal nodes and high density nodes so that we can meet the requirements of activity activity, but also low cost for dormant data. There's a number of monitoring and configuration options and administrative options. One of the things to note about this MaxiScale system is that as a file serving and storage solution, it's really intended to be a set it and forget it kind of approach. Aside from perhaps having to add a few new nodes to add capacity or bandwidth, or potentially changing out a node that may have gone awry, there really isn't much that's intended to happen on an ongoing basis. And so you can see that the system provides the ability to see all of the nodes, look at their health, monitor statistics and logging information. But again, the idea is once the system is configured, it really takes care of itself and leaves people to focus on scaling out their application. We believe in performance at MaxiScale and have done a lot of work to make sure that our software and commodity hardware can serve as foundation infrastructure for scalable applications. When it comes to small files, using our small file optimizations, we can get as much as a 10x improvement in the files per spindle per second by matching the file name to the specific block location on disk. This is a huge advantage for people who are suffering with small file problems in the world of web and cloud applications. We've done a lot of work with partners such as Supermicro to make sure that customers can get commodity hardware at extremely competitive pricing. So to give you an example of a starter kit, the hardware for a 4-node cluster plus a year of software support, all bundled together, just over $11,000, really pricing that is very hard to beat anywhere in the industry. And again, this is pricing for a solution that will deliver foundation infrastructure performance for critical applications. That's it for the presentation. Thanks very much for your time and taking a look at the demo. For more information, please visit us at maxiscale.com, or you can email me specifically at go@maxiscale.com. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.